Business Leadership South Africa has a new CEO. Busisiwe Mavuso takes over from Bonang Mohale, who stepped down recently to pursue other business interests. BLSA is a business organization that represents about 70 major corporations based in the country. And prior to her latest appointment, Mavuso was BLSA's Chief Operating Officer since November 2017. Busisiwe Mavuso now joins us to tell us about her new role at the helm. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations are in order.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
When Bonang Mohale said, "I'm not renewing my contract,"
yes,
what came to your mind, and were you ready just like that?
You know, we always knew when Bonang came on board in June 2017 that his was only a one-year contract, right? Which had finished in July 2018, and he decided to renew for another year, you know. And I came in as COO from the Black Management Forum with that succession plan in mind. So I always know that this day was going to come. You know, I was glad, obviously, that I had another year with him to learn at his feet, to observe him, to engage, you know, with the CEOs, you know, to engage with the stakeholders that business engages with, you know, to engage with government, you know, to ensure that we craft, you know, and develop this strategy and focus of BLSA together.
So when we talk about you, we think about the word understudy, being mentored. Are you going to do a cut and paste leadership style of Bonang Mohale?
You know, I absolutely believe that leadership is about ensuring that you are a leader of your time, right? It is about contextual leadership. It is about responding to what is currently required within the business at the moment. And if you agree that BLSA is an advocacy and lobby group that is actually representing big business, you therefore have to say, what are the issues that are facing big business today, and how do we therefore respond to that from a BLSA perspective? And that is what my focus is going to be. You know, it's going to ensure that the environment within which business operates is that which is conducive, especially at this time when there is this great dependency on big business to turn the economic trajectory around. We therefore have to say what ought to be our posture as big business, and what are those interventions and programs that we have to put in place to start dealing with some of these critical issues that are facing the country at the moment. You know, when I'm talking about the 38% unemployment in terms of the expanded definition, with more people unemployed than those that are employed in all the provinces except the Western Cape and the Gauteng. You know, I'm talking about the 55% youth unemployment. I'm talking about more than 50% poverty levels. You know, the fact that we're sitting with a country where you have two economies, one nation, right? You therefore have to say, if this was any other country, would have declared a state of emergency, because that is what the situation in South Africa calls for today. So we have a big complication in as far as the 57 million South Africans are concerned, and what is it that we're going to do to change, you know, their fortunes? And that is what we should be doing as BLSA.
How do you categorize these concerns? I mean, is it the bottom of the pyramid concerns regarding unemployment, or is it the issue of, you look at the scale of corruption in this country? People who have been accused of corruption, but when you look at the jail cells, they are empty because there is nobody who has been arrested, nobody's in jail, but the country has bled billions of rand, more than 8 billion rand per year, between 6 and 8 billion rand per year for 9 years.
You know, so for me, Colin, it is about both. Unfortunately, we are at the edge of a precipice as a country. You know, we just have one more chance to get this right, and all of the issues that we're facing are urgent. So we therefore have to deal with the socio-economic issues at the same time while dealing with ethical leadership. And Business Leadership South Africa has actually taken the lead on ethical leadership, you know, not just against government, but, you know, within our own backyard, you know, to say that there is always a corrupter and a corruptee, and government wouldn't have embarked on this industrial scale looting by itself. Business was complicit, you know, and that is a problem. We need to face that reality to say, when are we going to see these people actually wear orange overalls, you know, and go, you know, into the jail cells, as you rightfully say, because that, I think, is going to speak volumes. And on the other hand, we therefore have to say, what do we deal with these social issues that are confronting our economy? Because unfortunately, you know, the biggest ticking time bomb that we have in this country is precisely those social ills. And the more we ignore them, the more we turn a deaf ear to them, it's going to be a problem.
The issue of accountability is really a pain in the flesh of South Africans. When you look at Steinhoff, Marcus Eustace says that he will push back in as far as paying back the money. There's been a scandal at Tongaat. Look at what's been happening at EOH. So corporate corruption, white-collar crime in this country. With you at the helm, how do you think that these issues must be dealt with right here, right now? No more excuses.
So let's get this right. When we talk about corruption in business, we shouldn't be talking about white-collar crime. It is thieving. It is stealing, the same way that it is thieving and stealing in government. That is what business is doing, right? And I think irrespective of how Marcus Jooste says is going to push back, we don't have superstars in this country. If people are found to actually have acted against, the law and have been found to be wanting in as far as corruption is concerned, the way that it has been happening in the private sector, then they actually must face the might of the law.
Let me ask you this question. Some people feel that when black executives have committed wrong, action is taken very swiftly against them. But when it's white leadership, there's just a sluggish approach towards them being investigated and arrested and so forth, and they let off the hook. What do you say about that?
So you and I are going to have to ask this question to the justice system, to say exactly how do they work, how do they operate? Because if you have been accused and been found to be stealing, black, white, green or pink, it's neither here nor there. The same processes and the same speed at which they actually throw you in jail should actually not be the case. And that's what we're advocating for, as BLSA, to say that it cannot be. Because as you're rightfully saying, this is precisely what has collapsed the South African economy. This is the reason why we are sitting in this dire situation that we find ourselves in, where most of our people are actually finding themselves helpless. And it's a problem, it's a leadership problem. We need to take charge and we need to set the course right.
As a leader, do you look at leadership in its own terms? Or is it a big deal that it has to be a female leader?
Excellence, unfortunately, doesn't have a color, neither does it have a gender. You are either good or you are not, right? You either know what you're doing or you're not. You either understand the issues that you're confronting or you don't, right? So for me, it's not about that. But unfortunately, we live in a patriarchal society. We live in a country, for instance, from a business perspective, where you've got a prototype of leadership, where leadership in this country has a face, and that face continues to be white and male. So when I come, as a business leader, being a black African woman, I'm actually on the end of the spectrum of that, right? They are not expecting someone like me to show up to say that I'm leading big business in this country. So there's obviously going to probably be certain assumptions that are going to be made by my posture, by how I tackle issues and so forth and so forth. But as I said, leadership is about context. Is it about responding to what the country needs at the moment and what your organization needs and ensuring that you deliver on that?
Okay, from individualism to fragmentation, there are various business leadership organizations in the country. You come from the BMF. What is it that you took from that organization, and now that you are at BLSA, what do you think about business leadership speaking with one voice instead of this push and pull, cat and mouse, scratching each other and so forth?
So the fractured business society is not helping South Africa. So the linkages for me between black and white business, it is clear for me in the country today that the same way that the BMF is pushing for socio-economic transformation, white business, if you'd like to call BLSA that, is actually pushing for the same thing, to say that we understand that business can only prosper in a prosperous society. We understand that business cannot continue to be an island of prosperity in a sea of poverty. We understand that as business, we've got an obligation to ensure that the lives of 57 million South Africans are improved. We understand that we'll only be able to achieve the profits that we are so much chasing once the South African society in its entirety, is actually better off, from an economic perspective.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. All the best, and we're looking forward to engage with you in other related terms.
Thank you very much, Colin.
All right. Busisiwe Mavuso is the Chief Executive Officer of Business Leadership South Africa.